Thank you. You probably wonder what I was thinking as Barbara was speaking. I was thinking that I'm 69 years old and haven't been to the restroom in 2 hours. So I can promise you my remarks will be reasonably short. I'm going to begin with some remarks about things in my life that are, in many respects, the most important, and I'll bring it around to what really caused me to change my mind. I have 5 children. My oldest son, when he knew I was coming here, asked me what the award was, and I told him it was an award named for Governor Badger. And he said, "Who's Governor Badger?" And I told him he's a man who died 150 years ago. And Matthew somewhat cryptically said, "Dad, it doesn't surprise me that you share values with somebody who died 150 years ago." Matthew, interestingly enough, is a retired Marine colonel. I have another son who, they're both combat officers, who was a Marine. I have a son who's a policeman, a street cop, 10 years. A daughter who's an attorney, a daughter who's a mom and a teacher. I want to tell you about my daughters for a moment. 6 years is a long time to spend in Concord, particularly if you didn't grow up there, you weren't part of the culture. And it used to bother me that I would go to Concord and somehow or other begin to see things differently because of the acculturation of the process. That bothered me. And I left a photo of my kids, my daughters, there. I have said to people, my daughter's 35 now, I've said to people, I would never do anything consciously that would cause my daughters to look at me and have me look back and see disrespect in their eyes. That is what has kept me straight for many, many, many a year. I won't allow that to happen. And I'm going to come back to that theme in just a moment. Barbara remarked on our past. The truth is, as a defense attorney, I think I represented some 20, 25 people in homicides, numbers of trials. As Attorney General, there were 80 cases while I was there. Before I went there, as I think Rainey knows, there was Robert McLaughlin, whom I represented, the person responsible for Rainey's dad's death. So before I move on, let me just say that I certainly appreciate and am gratified by the honor. But the truth is that any efforts I've made absolutely pale with respect to the efforts of Arnie, Rainey, Barbara. I know that. They're there all the time. I'm only there sometime. They've been there forever. I haven't been here very long. I'll tell you now what turned my mind. At a personal, moral level. It wasn't a moral argument. I don't have the kind of moral objections to the death penalty the clergy would have. I listen very, very attentively, however, to what other people think. Particularly attentive to what people think who disagree with me, particularly when I have to try to persuade them of my point of view. Merely reiterating what I think has, in my observation, almost no impact. Now bear in mind, I'm a person who makes a living in court before juries. And if you think for a moment that I think I am the most important person before a jury, you're nuts. That jury constitutes an entity, we the people, and they are the most important people in that courtroom. And I try to be very attentive to what it appears will move them. So what I want to say to you is that from my perspective, when I was dealing with this issue last year, I was focused on the question of what 4 or 5 senators thought and how they thought about things, and the extent to which one or more of them might be amenable to an argument. Bear in mind that while my constituency may be my daughters, those are elected officials, and they have a constituency. Senator Stiles made a remark that I paid careful attention to because it was thematic. The remark that she made was, there are some crimes so heinous that they deserve the ultimate penalty. That is the refrain of most of the political leadership that favors the death penalty. And the truth of the matter is, if you think about it functionally, it silences huge segments of the community. Because huge segments of the community who don't have to deal with the particulars of it nod their head and say, yeah, that's right. And that's it. They're disengaged from that conversation. So from my point of view, you need to get by that. You need to get by it. I had a conversation with Senator O'Dell. I thought when I spoke to him that he was pro-death penalty. Senator O'Dell was absolutely courteous to me. He did not rush me. He listened and we chatted and found ground in terms of being dads. Being dads. And this is what I said to him when he said, well, what changed your mind ultimately? I said, well, this is what changed my mind, Senator. We the people see it as jurors. There may be different ones amongst us who do it, but it's we the people who sit there. So that in 2008, we had a man, and that man was indicted for capital murder, Brooks. He's a millionaire. He's got a condominium in Newcastle. He hired people to kill another man. He participated. He took a hammer to the guy's head. The jury convicted the millionaire, the 55-year-old, but it found in him something redeeming. Something redeeming. So it didn't vote the death penalty. 28 days later, a kid who was 26 or so, Michael Addison from Dorchester, a black kid, acted spontaneously and committed a horrific act, murder of Officer Briggs. So 28 days after leniency is shown to the millionaire, they decide that they're going to kill the black kid from Dorchester. And I've got to tell you, then and now, it bothers me to my soul. I will not be a part of that. That was wrong then. It's wrong, period. And I just cannot participate in a system that is going to have that result. It would require people with absolute historical amnesia not to understand that problem. That is wrong. It is dead wrong. It should not have happened. If anybody were deserving of some understanding, of some sense of cultural deprivation that might put a kid in that position, it would have been Michael Addison. It would not have been John Brooks. And from my perspective, that may seem to you like a moral imperative. It seems to me a question of asking, is anybody asking the question, what is a justice system? So I said the following. I said the following to Senator O'Dell. I said, I'll tell you how I make decisions in important matters, Senator. It isn't to say something that's going to placate my political constituency. I said, do the following. You be around the day after they kill Michael Addison. You have your grandchildren speak to you. You explain to your grandchildren why it is you voted the way you did. Explain to them. And watch their eyes when they look back at you and see if you see respect in those eyes. I was surprised, gratified, and hopefully to some degree played a role when Senator O'Dell changed an otherwise expected vote and commented on the fact that he couldn't explain it to his grandchildren. Sometimes daughters and grandchildren are your conscience, and that's not a bad thing. Thank you for the award.